Hey, Keith here from Injector-Rehab. Today's video we're going to be going over direct injection injectors and the difference between flowing them on a port injection bench and on an actual GDI machine where they're flowed at high pressure. The reason that we started this video today was mainly because we had a customer who's a longtime customer, a different shop, still in New Jersey, but they sent in a set of injectors and they were so far off from what they, from each other, that it was so unbelievable. I had to call them and find out like the story behind the injectors. That when you flow these on a port injection bench, though, you can see that they're not far off. They're not that bad, if you will, if you put air quotes around that bad. But when you actually test them at pressure, it's insanely off. So these are from a pretty well-known brand. I'm not trying to disparage any particular brand here or anything like that, or put them on blast, but I'm just using what I have here, and it happens to be those. So after talking to the shop, these injectors were used for about 4 years without any problems. They said that they were making about 800 horsepower. The motor let go somehow, some way, and they were just freshening the injectors up before putting the engine back together, which is how they ended up here. They did not suspect that they were the injectors, but after seeing these things, I don't know what actually happened to it. But I mean, these things are like $4,000 for a set of these injectors, and it's pretty amazing how they flow. So let's get into the video here. This injector here was a modified GDI injector, which you don't see too often, and when you do, they're extremely expensive. This one here, I'm not sure if you can see, but it was, we call it decapping it, in port injection world. They take the top of the tip of the injector and take it off of there. This one, however, has like a cap that was like welded. You can kind of see here, cap was like welded to it, and it has some hard to get a good picture here, but there are some additional holes that are inside of here that they say are for the spray pattern, which is weird because GDI really doesn't go by spray pattern. I mean, these things are run at super high pressure. So what we wanted to do, after testing them on a GDI bench at high pressure where these things were all over the place, I mean, I don't even know how somebody can say that these could work in a vehicle. We wanted to put them on a test bench of port injection to see what they flow like at low pressure, and maybe people that are making them are testing them that way and pairing them up that way. What they did was they made a cap that goes on top of here. So this thing came with, this cap is installed on here, which basically takes the top and turns it into a smaller O-ring style, like a GM. So it's to replace this injector here. So you can see the sealing length has to do with why they put that cap on there. But another thing that was interesting is for clearance here, you can see this is just kind of ground down here to allow it to fit into the application. They put a little adapter on here for height wise, so it sits in correctly, and then that cap was installed on here. But again, it ran so poorly on the test bench at high pressure, we had to see what it did on a port injection machine. Unfortunately, we don't normally test we don't use a port injection machine to test high pressure GDI injectors very often, so we only have 2 adapters handy to test these things, and we can go make some, but it's kind of, we don't want to hold the customer up to get these things out. We want to capture this on video for you guys and show you the difference between somebody that's testing these things at port injection pressure versus what they actually flow when they're in a high pressure scenario. Oh, the other thing that it came with was there was an adapter, electrical connector, put on here so that you can switch over from the Denso connector to give you the EV6 connector that's on the original injector. The adapter hat also has 2 little I'm assuming these are guides, because you're no longer using the clip to retain them in there. So for positioning, I must just put the guides on. Okay, so the images that you're going to see next are the test plan results from the GDI testing. So if you look at any of our other videos about GDI injectors, you can see, like, running on a machine like the one behind me over here, there's a long process in order to get the results. The results are not a reading like you would with a port injection, where you look in the tubes and see, oh, it flowed, you know, this amount here. This is all with sensors that are much more accurate than the human eye, and they measure in ways that we can't measure. So the results are printed out results. We can't show you that flowing because it would literally take, you know, 2 days of your time to sit there and watch these tests be performed and then get the results. So you're going to see TP1, which is test plan 1. It will have the parameters around that testing on there. TP2. So all those different things you can take a look and see, and we'll label each injector 1 through 8, and then we'll go into the port injection testing, where you can actually visually see the spray pattern and the volume that the injector is flowing. Alright, now we're going to get into testing them on a port injection machine. Again, as we mentioned earlier, we don't typically test GDI injectors on port injection machines, so we only have 2 adapters available at the moment to flow these injectors on a port injection bench. We could make more, but in the sense of the customer's time, we just flowed with what we had, so you'll notice a little bit goofiness here while we try to adapt, the 2 injectors and move through the set of 8 injectors to put them on the bench and show you a side-by-side comparison. All right, so we're going to start these things off. We only have 2 of these adapters because we don't actually use the port injection test bench for GDI injectors very often. So we have to do this a little bit weird here. In order to keep them balanced as far as pressure and everything behind there, we have to do like every other injector. So we're going to start off with injector 1 and 3 here. As you can see, they're marked in the things, and we'll have to piece this all together through a couple different sections. They are beautiful. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Probably the worst spray pattern I've ever seen. Well, not ever, but pretty darn close. So we have one of them that is at 90, and this one's at 95. These are equally as beautiful of a spray pattern. Okay, so this is at 195. Not horribly off right now, but let's keep going. Leaking. That is horrendous, like the others. Fairly even though, again, we've got 95-ish, 92. All right, let's get the last 2 up here, number 6 and number 8. Yeah. So we're at 90, and this one up here is up at 100. This one I believe filled a little bit more from that when I had the mishap there. But as you can see, they're fairly even here. Not that bad off. However, when you add actual pressure to them, it's a whole nother story. Yeah, so I mean, you can, draw your own conclusion from the videos here. Do you want your direct injection injectors tested on a port injection bench because someone's able to do it faster and cheaper? Or do you want them tested on an actual, high pressure test with test plans provided by the, manufacturers to say, this is what should be good? A lot of everything that was on their websites as far as like the flow rating and all that kind of stuff, you can kind of tell is just simple math that they, oh, okay, on a port injection it flows this, so let's use this calculation and come up with, oh yeah, these things flow, 27 grams. Well, it's math is how they got to that number, but either way, here we are. Yeah, modifying a direct injection injector is pretty similar to what, I'd say 20 years ago, modifying a port injection injector was. Just be a little bit careful when you're buying these things out there. I don't know that they've perfected it yet. Just leave it at that. Alright guys, till the next video.